Hey, it's Jack, no K, Jack in the Attic, and your message has been received loud and clear. The goths demand more knitting patterns. All jokes aside, I did not expect the amount of attention my last goth knitting video got. So alternative knitters out there, I see you, I hear you, I'm back with more. If you didn't see that video, the premise is basically that I'm not sharing specifically like gothic or alternative patterns necessarily, but patterns for pieces that could be easily incorporated into an alt wardrobe if you're creative. I'm sort of less interested in standout, like showstopper, like this is the outfit type pieces, but more garments and accessories that can fit into or fill out the existing dark wardrobe of someone who also happens to knit. I was worried this concept wouldn't be super clear and super well understood in my last video, but based on the positive response, it seems like everyone really got what I was going for, and we're gonna do it again. I will say I got a lot of really great recommendations in the comments of the last video for more patterns to check out. But for the reasons I just went over, I'm not going to be including much in the way of color work at all, really. Like motifs that can easily lean Halloween-y. Skulls, bones, bats, ghosts, all of that stuff that I do love. It's just a different video. If you haven't seen my Halloween video, I will link it somewhere. There will also be minor exceptions to my own rule that I just made up. So I will repeat the disclaimer that I kind of gave in the last video, that there is of course no one way to dress goth or alternative. Goth is a music-based subculture, not a knitting-based subculture. However, gothic fashion carries inspiration from not only music but also literature, historical fashion, etc. They're different things, significant overlap. We don't have to go into that too much. Just know that I know, and I know that you know, so. And if we're being honest, half of these patterns are just straight from my favorites list, and the alternate title of this video is just like, help, I don't have time to make all of these things, so hopefully some of you will so I can see them. Oh, speaking of Ravelry real quick, please don't add me on Ravelry. I don't post any projects there, I just use it as like pattern storage. And if I could set my favorites to private, I absolutely would. I'm not into ruining the surprise when I do this kind of pattern roundup video, so just pretend I'm not there if you could. And with that all said, we have a lot of patterns to get through, so let's get started. I'm gonna try to make this like as efficient as possible because I have a tendency to ramble and film for a really long time and make editing really hard on myself. So I'll do my best, but we know who I am and how that's not gonna happen. So I also did try to include only patterns with a wide range of sizes, usually to fit up to a 60-inch chest. There are a couple of sort of outliers that are just a little bit shy of that, but we'll talk about those as they come up. So the first category is long sleeve tops. I am of course wearing the Partition pullover by James N. Watts. So we're starting strong with the pure mesh pullover. I need to scoot over. Get ready to see a lot of mesh today. So this is a low yardage, large needle fishnet top with full length sleeves. I'm reading from my notes here, don't worry about it. Fishnet anything is classic, knitting your own is obviously iconic, so. This particular pattern can fit a range of chest measurements from 30 to 62 inches. Next up is the Umbra top from Low Key Bold Knit. This has been in my favorites for a while. This is a brioche knit, but it has a mesh effect, and most importantly, it has thumb holes. So this piece can fit a range of chest measurements from 30.4 inches to 59.2 inches, but I did want to talk about mesh being pretty easy to adjust. This top in particular, I used sport weight. It was written for fingering weight. I went up a couple of needle sizes and down a garment size. So mesh is really easy to play around with and get the size and the fit that you want. The next piece, this is the one exception to my overall concept of no colorwork sweaters. This is the Nightbook sweater. This is a yoked top-down sweater. And I'm giving it a pass because it's not a specific motif. It's just a very cool geometric design inspired by a piece of music of the same name. So while this is like a very cool standalone piece, I feel like it is subtle enough that you can still style it a bunch of different ways. That's what I'm going for here. The Ophelia top, tank top and long sleeve top, you can knit it either way. So hear me out on this. It is a regular top, but I love a delicate little detail. I think it adds so much, and this would be a great layering piece. I am planning to knit a long sleeve top, maybe this one, probably this one, before next fall, because I have really struggled this cold season with layering. Turns out I don't own literally one fitted long sleeve top. So I've been looking at this one. I really like this one. Picture it in black. That's the theme of the video. Picture it in black. This one can accommodate chest measurements from 28 to 62 inches. If you're looking for a long sleeve top with even more detail, this is the Beltane sweater. I really like this one quite a bit. It has enough going on to be really interesting on its own without overwhelming the rest of an outfit. This one can fit chest measurements of 30 to 60 inches. Next up is the Morticia sweater. This has so much going for it in terms of like unique details and tons of customizable options. I'm going to read directly from the Ravelry description here. The pattern offers you several options to customize the sleeves as well as the front and back neckline, a thumb hole, the general sleeve length, ruffles around the necklines, and or straps at the back neckline. The instructions also tell you how to incorporate optional horizontal bust darts to fit your individual measurements and shape. There are 8 different cup sizes included in the pattern. So this has so many options, seems sort of endlessly customizable, and can fit chest measurements of 27.75 inches to 62 inches, so a wide range of sizes as well. That's it for the long sleeve tops. Now we're moving on to short sleeve tops, starting with the mesh top. This is a free pattern from Yarnspirations. The Ravelry listing says it's no longer available, but I went to Yarnspirations and it definitely is, so, or I'm 90% sure it is, so I will link the Yarnspirations link instead of the Ravelry page on this one. So this is another classic mesh piece. The times I have cut out me saying classic mess already, ooh, that's gonna be a problem. Another classic mesh piece, but it's knit in Aran weight, so it might be much warmer than it looks. Probably a good layering piece as well. And this can fit chest measurements from 28 to 62 inches. This top, this is another hear me out. This is the Jody top. Hear me out. Look at the lace panels on the front and tell me that doesn't look like insertion lace from a Victorian shirtwaist. You can't, because it does. Like, I am all for a full-on Victorian goth look, but I also really appreciate like subtle nods to historical clothing. Again, picture it in black. Ooh, picture it with like either in the summer with like a long summer skirt or layered over a shirt with a dramatic sleeve, like maybe a poofy sleeve. That would be really neat. Also, this pattern has the option for both a straight, unshaped, or a tapered body. So that's good. I like the variety there. And this can fit chest measurements of 33.5 to 61 inches. I should also mention that when I'm giving these size ranges, there is going to be some fluctuation depending on your preferred ease. I'm just trying to give as much information as possible without really reading off the entire Ravelry listing, you know? Everything is linked below, by the way, in order that they're mentioned in the video. Moving on to tank tops and vests. First off, we have the Fairy Chasm tank top. I remember seeing this on Instagram while it was still in testing and loving it instantly. There's not a ton you can do to make a tank top super interesting, but this pulls it off, I think. It has sort of a unique shape and it has the strap in the back. I think it's pretty cool. I really want to knit one this summer. I basically live in tank tops with or without additional layers until it gets below freezing. Love a tank top. This will fit chest measurements from 30 to 60 inches. Next up, we have the Lace Spencer. I love a waistcoat. I don't know why. This is another nice nod to historical fashion. And again, pictured in black. I love the idea of this vest over something that's like very light and drapey, the same way like a bodice or a corset would fit over a loose chemise, you know? The finished measurements of the garment are listed as 32 to 55 inches, and it doesn't mention how much positive or negative ease is recommended, so I'm not really sure of the body measurements that this is meant to fit. However, the designer does mention like actively being in the process of trying to expand their size ranges, and states, if your size is missing from the size range, this might mean I haven't found test knitters for all the sizes, and I can appreciate that, so I am still including it here. Next up is the Lenoa mesh top. This is another classic mesh piece, but in tank top form. This is knit seamlessly from the top down. The sample in the picture is knit with 100% linen, and we know how I feel about linen. I'm a real freak for linen. This is known. The Ravelry description states this piece is meant to be worn with plus or minus 4 inches of positive or negative ease. So can fit anywhere from a 22.9 inch chest to a 65.7 inch chest. I kind of love when a piece can be worn with either positive or negative ease. I find that interesting. The next category is sleeves. Up first is the Fairycore Mesh Shrug. We've all seen plenty of mesh shrugs or sleeves or boleros at this point. They're called a bunch of different things, but I usually see them in crochet instead of knit. And this one is knit in bulky weight, which I rarely see. I usually see like crochet, mohair, like treble crochet, so it's very open, or like a mesh stitch. And this is another free pattern from Yarnspirations. And I do love the classic mohair open mesh crochet sleeves, don't get me wrong. This one can fit chest measurements from 22 to 62 inches. However, it being rectangles, I think the size range is made up because the actual size range is sort of infinite. Next up is the Rave sleeves. I love a little sleeve. If you've watched my channel for a while, you've seen the pair of sleeves that I knit sort of in lieu of owning any long sleeve tops. I love them as an accessory. The pair I made was specifically for warmth, but I also think it just looks neat. This particular pair would not add warmth, just interest, but it is quite interesting. And now that I have one pair of sleeves, I want to make all of them. I absolutely want to make this pair. It would be great for the summer. However, please wear sunscreen. Fishnet sunburns are no joke, and they look stupid. Ask me how I know. The Ravelry listing doesn't include much information on sizing other than it goes from small to extra large. But the picture looks like it might be knit with raglan style increases, so it could be very easy to adjust, and it is free. I cannot and will not hold anything against a free pattern, so this is just a bonus. Next up, we have sleeve vibes. This is the pair of sleeves I wanted to make in the first place when I knit mine, but I wanted to use a DK yarn that I had specifically, and this is written for fingering weight yarn. The fit of it just looks so good. So I cannot wait to actually follow this pattern with the intended yarn instead of doing like a makeshift made up pattern that I used for my DK version. It doesn't have a ton of details on what the sizes mean, but there are 9 sizes, so it should give a pretty good range. Next up is cardigans. I had 2 cardigans for this section, but one of them is no longer available. So the Adams cardigan is going to have to carry us through this section, and I think it's up to the task. I love a long cardigan, always. It's a little bit of drama, but like appropriate for every day. It's appropriate for the office or just like colder days in general. Why are offices so cold? I've actually read some hypotheses on these and none of them are good. You can look it up. None of them make me happy. None of them make me feel better. Anyway, this cardigan has just enough like detail and visual interest with the cables. I like that it's not all over cables, not just because I don't want to knit all over cables, but because that might be a little overwhelming for a piece that's sort of already a statement on its own. You know, long cardigan. This one can fit chest measurements from 24 to 64 inches. The next category is dresses. I feel like we don't see enough knit dresses. I'm seeing more lately. Also, when I go looking for them, they are there. So I don't know, that might just be a me problem. I want to see more knit dresses is my point. So I'm out looking for them. First up is the meshed up dress. And can you tell I love knitting mesh? Honestly, goes with everything. You can't tell me I'm wrong. I do think a lot of mesh knits are intended as beachwear, but who's gonna stop you? It's not gonna stop me. I hope it won't stop you either. The length of this dress is obviously totally customizable. So you could do anywhere from a mini dress to a floor length dress. I think if you're particularly clever, you could probably figure out how to do a slit on one or both sides. I don't know that I'm that clever. You might be. This will accommodate chest measurements of 29.5 inches to 59 inches, but again, mesh is very forgiving, very stretchy, very easy to adjust. Next up is the Love Magic dress, and oh my god, I don't really think I need to even say anything about it. Look at the sleeves. First pictured in black, and then look at the sleeves. I actually gasped when I saw it, like, out loud. Yeah, I'm just look at it. So again, reading directly from the Ravelry description, this garment is designed with 0 to 2 inches positive or negative ease in the chest to be close fitting and give the bell sleeves a dramatic effect. That makes sense. So it can fit anywhere from a 28 to a 64 inch chest depending on your desired ease. Next up we have skirts and pants. We know I love knit pants based on the one pair that I made and am obsessed with and wear constantly. I have never knit a skirt though. I would love to do that soon. I actually have 2 skirts from the same designer here. It's cold and I'm feeling long skirts. I actually don't have any fitted long skirts like this first one. This is the Bloomfield skirt. But I think they look so cool and I feel like they would really level up like a casual outfit. This one has an all-over cable detail. And the second skirt from the same designer is a little bit more flowy and less fitted. It's simple stockinette skirt with a nice side slit detail. These skirts have waist size ranges from almost 25 to 63 inches. I had to convert it from centimeters. I'm so sorry to everyone outside of the US. I should just say both. Next time, maybe I'll do both size ranges. Anyway, about 25 to about 63 inches for both of these. Pants. Bloomers even. This is the Parisian Delight pattern. We know I love knit pants, again. I also love bloomers, and again, nods to historical fashion. I would absolutely wear these on their own, but I would also wear them under long skirts, long dresses in the fall and winter. Big fan of wearing something bloomer-ish or filling the role of bloomers slightly longer than the dress or skirt I'm wearing, so it peeks out a little bit. I think that's very cute. These pants don't give waist measurements. The waist does have a drawstring, so that's probably why, but it will fit hip measurements from 31.25 to 58 inches. Moving on to shawls. I have a lot of shawls this time for some reason. I'm really in a like shawl era right now. Forgive me or don't. I won't go into a ton of detail on every pattern, but just know that I'm looking for the same things I'm always looking for, which is lace, mesh, interesting shapes, and in the case of shawls specifically, pointy bits. You will see what I mean when I say pointy bits. First up, we have the Shadow Singer Shawl. It's a shawl and a cowl. Shawl. I have been kind of obsessed with this pattern since before it was released. I saw the tester call for this and I was not up to that particular challenge at the time, but now I definitely think I have the knitting skills to create this. How have I not made this yet? It can be worn a bunch of different ways. I'll include as many patterns as I can. Next up we have the Silk Song Shawl Tongue Twister. This is a triangular shawl inspired by spider webs, and it's been on my to knit list for a while. I'm currently working on a pattern test for a different shawl from this same designer, so the Silk Song is definitely a project for another day. The recommended yarns for this pattern include merino, mohair, and silk, so it's a little bit warmer. But imagine a summer version of this with like a linen cotton silk blend, or like cotton bamboo, I don't know, something planty and slinky to be a little bit lighter and to just keep the sun off my shoulders in the warmer months. That's my vision for this. Next up is the Victorian Pennies shawl. So this is what I meant by pointy bits, and I love it. This is a gorgeous all over lace shawl and a one skein wonder. And we're on a real historical fashion kick today, and if you have known me for any length of time, you will not be surprised by this. I don't keep a lot of lace weight yarn in my collection, otherwise I would be tempted to knit this immediately. It looks very light and airy, so it could be worn in the warmer seasons. Next up, two patterns actually. We have the Widow's Web scarf and the Widow's Web shawl. So these both feature the same, like really striking, airy lace. I'm not sure how to describe it. I keep wanting to say big lace. That doesn't mean anything. But anyway, this same lace, big lace, in two different shapes. We have a very wide scarf and then a large shawl. I'm not usually the biggest fan of tassels on shawls, like for myself to wear, not to see on other people, but I really like these tassels. I like the drama. They're huge, but they also look really light. Next up is the Morticia shawl, More Pointy Bits. I think I'd been sleeping on shawls as legitimate goth accessories, you know? I won't let it happen again. So this is a crescent shawl that is also a little bit beaded. I'll try to include like as close up as I can get. Next up is the Interview with the Vampire shawl. This is another beaded crescent shawl, but it looks completely different from the Morticia shawl, which is... I love knitting. I also particularly love the texture of this shawl. It looks very nice. Moving on from shawls, we have neck accessories that aren't shawls or scarves, you know? First up, we have Lucy's Wreath from the Ravelry description, because honestly, I can't rephrase this. They said it best. So, a lacy Victorian-inspired collar, buttoned at the side, featuring Barbara Walker's Frost Flowers stitch pattern and lacy bell pleats. I love that it has functional but still decorative buttons, at least on the sample. You could use whatever buttons you want, I don't know. And even with the pleats, it looks quite light and airy. It does come in one size, but the description states it can be blocked to different measurements, which makes perfect sense for lace. Next up, the Karenina Lace Collar Neck Warmer. This is a free pattern for an all-over lace neck warmer. From the pictures, I think it's a rectangle panel that gets its collar shape from being buttoned just in the middle, which is honestly pretty clever, pretty simple. I would like to try this one. Next up is the Victorian Lace Collar. So this is closer to a traditional collar, less like a neck warmer, more like what you would see attached to a garment. I worked at an antique store as a teenager, and this reminds me quite a bit of one of my first purchases there, which was a white crocheted separate collar, like accessory. That was a long time ago, so I have no idea where it is. So this is obviously a knit version, but I feel nostalgic about it. Moving on to socks. So the long stripes. This is a fun and interesting take on the classic striped sock, the like witchy thick stripes, you know? They are quite bold, but I don't think that's a bad thing. They could either be like a really interesting outfit feature, or I'm imagining them under like a skirt or a long dress, either with side slits or like where just a little bit is peeking out. I don't know, that's what I'm picturing. That feels like fun. This is another exception to my like sort of rules from earlier. These are the skull stockings. I am including these because the design is not like so bold. It's a little bit subtle, being made with like eyelets and yarn overs and decreases and all of that. So the pattern is actually written out in blog format. It is free. Some of it is more formula than pattern, but I gave it a quick look through and it seems to have a lot of helpful information. Okay, we're making really good time here actually. The last category is gloves. First up, we have the Liberty Lace Mitts. These fingerless gloves look really light and comfortable, but still warm. And I love the delicate little lace detail, of course. I do love gloves that look like this for several reasons. First being the aforementioned freezing office for some reason. And the fact that my stupid little watch clashes with all of my outfits, but I find the data useful. So anything that I can wear on my wrists that looks cooler than a Garmin watch. I'm not saying they look bad, they just don't go with my outfits. Anyway, I've been wearing a lot of fingerless gloves this winter. Next up, we have the Victorian Lace Mitts. I fell in love with these the instant I saw them. I need them on my hands as soon as possible. I love the slight flare at the wrist and the fact that the lace is only on the back of the hand and not on the palm. I definitely see the Victorian inspiration here. These are very quickly moving up my to knit list. This is becoming a problem. Okay, great news. We made it through the list. That was a lot. I feel like we made good time. That was kind of rapid fire, pattern after pattern after pattern. So I do hope you find this list maybe helpful. Maybe it'll give you some inspiration or introduce you to a pattern you've never heard of before. Maybe you have no interest in this specific topic, but I was able to keep you company as you worked on your craft. That's also fantastic. You know that's why I'm here. If you do plan on making any of these, or if you have already made one, definitely let me know. I will always take suggestions for patterns to include in this video series, if you want it to be a series. This is only the second, so not really a series yet, but could be. And I really appreciated the great feedback on the last Goth Knitting Patterns video. Everyone was genuinely so kind in the comments. Probably a perk of creating for a niche within a niche. But at the same time, I expected that video to get like 200 views. We're sitting at like 14,000? I don't know. So like genuinely thank you all. I'm very, very conscious of the fact that that is the video that launched my channel to so many people. And I'm just really glad you're all here. Don't get it twisted though, if my channel gets over 5,000 subscribers, I will question my entire life. That's too many people. Anyway, I've been rambling. The thing I was trying to avoid. So I'm going to leave you with that. Protect your wrists. Protect your elbows. Go live your best yarny life, and I will see you next time. Bye.